Almost every season, we see a team who finished worst in their division the season before, turn it around, and end up winning the division the very next year. Today, we're going to look through every single division, some of them not very long, some of them go into some detail with, and we are going to determine who we think is going to be the team that goes from worst to first in 2026. As always, if you enjoy this type of content, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, do all those YouTube things, and let's just get right into it. We're going to start with the AFC East. The worst place division in that team, the worst place team in that division was the New York Jets. I could go through and say that New England won the division. They're also in there with Buffalo. Why spend time on it? New York's not doing it. They're not good. They haven't been good. I'm not sure they ever will be good. So therefore, the New York Jets are not going to do it. Let's go right into the AFC North, the Browns. We are off to a rough start. The Jets and the Browns. The Browns aren't going to do it. Next, AFC South, the Tennessee Titans. Hold up. I'm not going to say they're going to do it. I'm not even going to spend much time on them. But what I do want to say is I think they had a very good offseason. I made videos about this. I graded every single team's offseason in the entire NFL going by division. If you haven't seen those, make sure to check those videos out. I really liked what Tennessee did with Saleh and Brian Daboll and giving Cam Ward weapons. I really like what they did. I also think the defense will end up being below average, but not horrible. That being said, Jacksonville, Houston especially, I really like Houston this year. I don't see it happening, but I do want to give Tennessee a shout out. I really liked what they did. Same can be said about the next division, the AFC West and the Las Vegas Raiders. I actually think I gave them the best grade in the entire NFL for the offseason. You end up keeping Max Crosby, which I don't think is a bad thing. And it wasn't your fault even that the trade got screwed up. The trade that if you would have made it, I think it would have been a good trade. No matter what, you either ended up with 2 first-round picks or you ended up with Max Crosby. There wasn't a losing situation for the Raiders in that. Keeping him, I don't think is a problem. I really like bringing in Kirk to be in front of Fernando Mendoza. Fernando's already spoke so glowingly of Kirk that it's just really nice to see. Clint Kubiak being your new head coach, I think is going to take you in the right direction by significant steps. I think that Vegas didn't just take steps forward. I think they took leaps forward into being a much better franchise just going forward. With all that said, Broncos, Chargers, Chiefs, no shot of winning this division. But if they can win 6 games, that's huge for them in this division. Love the Raiders offseason, but I just don't think they have a shot there. Hopping over to the NFC, we just went through the whole AFC. It's not happening over there. In the NFC, New York Giants. Interesting, but no. And I can get into depth here, but I'm not going to. All I'm going to say is Matt Nagy's the offense coordinator. I don't know if I have to say anymore. Matt Nagy's the offense coordinator. Also, you have injuries. Malik Neighbors is, who knows when he can come back. It's just not happening with the Giants. I'm not saying they can't be better than they were last year. With Matt Nagy, maybe. I'm a Matt Nagy hater, if you cannot tell. Anyway, let's get into the NFC West. The Cardinals, no shot. Can anybody do it this year? Well, I left off a certain team for a reason. Let's get into the NFC North, the Detroit Lions. Last season, the Bears won the division at 11-6. The Packers 9-7-1 came in second. The Vikings were 9-8, and the Lions finished the division last, also at 9-8. Just lost the tiebreaker to Minnesota. So first of all, this division is so close. I remember last season, I didn't make YouTube videos, but I did make a lot of short form content. And in those videos, I remember saying Detroit's really going to fall off. I think I predicted them last in the division. I might have done the Packers, but I think it might have been the Lions I predicted last in the division. And it's for things that I saw coming. Now, admittedly, Detroit really fixed them the back half of the year. It was just a little too late for them. But they ended up fixing a lot of my issues I had with them, which is why now coming into this year, I really like their odds. The Bears are going to have a much harder schedule in 2026 than they did in 2025. The Packers lost a lot of key pieces. Packer fans, when I made these videos about the offseason grades, especially in the short form, Packer fans were mad at me for saying I didn't think they had that good of an offseason. They lost a lot. Packer fans seem to think they're fine. I don't know. I don't know if they improve. Micah Parsons is also supposed to miss half the year, the first half of the year with that ACL tear. I don't know, man. I'm worried about the Packers. I think right here, right now, I'd say they're probably going to finish last unless Minnesota can't get the quarterback situation figured out. But with that said, even last year, Minnesota, who didn't have the quarterback situation figured out, still won 9 games. So, yeah, in fact, actually, I'd argue Minnesota had the quarterback situation figured out, and it was the fact that their quarterback was bad. They knew that. And they still won 9 games. That's impressive. So that is a little sneak of like maybe Minnesota muddies us up. Obviously, I'm a Viking fan, so I am being a little biased here, but maybe Minnesota, if Kyler is good, can muddy this up. But I think the Lions have the best chance of winning the division. Last year, their offense was elite, especially down the stretch, like I mentioned. Yards per game, 5th. Points per game, 5th. Passing yards per game, 3rd. Where they kind of struggled was their rushing yards per game. Also, their defense. Yards allowed per game, 18th. Passing yards allowed per game, 22nd. And passing yards allowed per game. I meant points per game. I'm sorry. I misspelt that. Points per game was 22nd. And then passing yards allowed per game was 20th. Rushing yards allowed per game was 14th. So to start with the defense, because that was what was so bad last year, just so many injuries on this front. They got some big D linemen who missed a lot of time between McNeil and Davenport. They missed a lot of time there. DJ Reed missed some, I think it was 6 games. I have on here 6 games he missed. Their issue is they are not going to get Terrion Arnold back. He's gone and should be. Kirby Joseph will be back. Brian Branch will be back at some point. Maybe not to start the year, but he definitely will be back at some point. So a lot of that, I think, just gets better with injuries. But to be fair, Detroit, I feel, never really had that great of a defense. Even with Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, I don't know. I never was a big fan of Aaron Glenn. I remember when everyone was saying Aaron Glenn's a head coaching candidate, I remember saying, why? He's not, he can't, his defense is not good. And that's what he does. Why would he be a head coach? And I get it from this perspective of maybe he's just a Dan Campbell vibes guy. Although Dan Campbell has shown he can coach an offense, that's for sure. You saw when he took over play calling last year, this offense exploded. But regardless, I think injuries are going to help with the defense a lot. With the rushing game, which is really the issue on the offense, because obviously when you're 3rd in the league in passing yards per game, you're sitting pretty good. You're sitting pretty points per game, 5th. You're sitting pretty. You bring in, and their biggest issue, I think, was their interior O-line. You bring in Caden Mays to be your center. Underrated signing. That is a huge signing for not a lot of money. That is a huge signing. It's going to be their best center, obviously, since Frank Ragnow, who tried to come back and it just got muddied up, didn't work out. I really think Caden Mays is going to make the world of difference, and you're going to see it immediately from this Detroit Lions offense. They also let go of Taylor Decker for cap reasons, but then they go out in the first round and they draft Blake Miller from Clemson. So I do think this offensive line is still going to look good. So offensive line, I think maybe even improved, maybe not at first, but eventually throughout the season. O-line gets improved, which means this rushing game gets improved, and maybe even to an extent this passing game. They're going to have a 4th place schedule, of course. That's part of the parameters of this. The Packers lost a lot. The Bears' schedule gets harder. Minnesota literally has no clue about their quarterback situation. All that being said, I think the Detroit Lions have a great opportunity to go from worst in their division to first. If I had to predict it, and if I had to bet money on it, which I probably will be doing now that I live in Colorado and it's legal, I'm probably betting on I'm probably betting on Detroit to win the division. But that's not the only team I want to talk about. That's not the only division I want to talk about. I also want to talk about this NFC South. I skipped them for a reason. The NFC South, I truly think every year has a great chance of this, strictly because of how bad the division is. Did the division get much better this year? No, I don't think so. But even so, I think New Orleans got so much better from halfway through last year to this year. I'm counting from halfway through where they just made the change to Tyler Shuck and he was looking a little shaky. between the second half of the season and all that experience those young guys got, this offseason, just the experience for the coaching staff. Kellen Moore was a first-year head coach. I love this team. I really think that they are going to win this division. I think they're going to go from worst to first. I think we might see it twice this year. So last season, the New Orleans Saints were 23rd. No, that's not what I want to say. They are 28th in offensive points per game with 18 points per game. The last 5 weeks of the season, they went 4-1, and their points per game shot all the way up to 26. I want to be very candid. I want to be very open and honest here. The teams they played were very bad. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat up Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Carolina Panthers, playoff team by default. The Jets, the Titans, and the Falcons. They were that was their 5-game stretch where they went 4-1. Of course, you're going to see an improvement when you're playing teams like that. But for starters, a lot of that was their division. They're going to play the division again. They're also on a 4th place schedule, so they're going to play similar teams to that again. They bring in Travis Etienne Jr. from Jacksonville, formerly Travis Etienne. They also bring in a guard, David Edwards, from the Buffalo Bills to be on this offensive line and upgrade that. They also draft in the first round Jordan Tyson to give them an elite number 2 option at wideout. Holy cow. This offense is going to explode. I truly believe that. I think they were 23rd in points per game. 23rd in yards per game and 28th in points per game. I think they jumped. I think they're a top 15 team. I think offense. They're top 15 offense this next season and maybe slightly better. Maybe can hit that 10 mark, crack the top 10 by being 10, maybe. But that is a little bit of a stretch. I do think offensively they're going to be very good behind the offensive play caller of Kellen Moore. The issue is their defense. They lost a lot on defense. Demario Davis, Alontae Taylor, and some depth on the defensive line. I don't hate that, though, because of how bad the division is. In most other divisions, that would be enough to make me say, maybe not. Maybe I'm going overboard here. But this division is so bad, I'm not that too tore up that they lost those people. I just so believe in this offense. I believe in Tyler Shough. I believe in Achane and Kamara duo. I thought Kamara would be gone. He's not. Achane and Kamara duo. Chris Olave, Jordan Tyson duo. They also had Juwan Johnson, who's a solid tight end. They pair him up with Noah Fant, who's another solid tight end. Offensive line improves. I think everywhere this offense just got better this season. And again, it's just going to be up to the defense. Can they be just below average? That's all I think they need to be to win this division. It's just below average. I think they can do that. And then this offense will carry them the rest of the way. It's going to be a lot of ups and downs. Let me be clear. This is a fairly inexperienced team between the coach and the quarterback, the most important 2 guys on this offense. Very inexperienced. So it's going to be up and down. When they play bad or tough teams, they might get stomped. But I also think that they're going to be the type of team that's going to run up the score on a bad team as well. I really don't think they're going to classify as that bad team anymore. I think Atlanta might finish last in this division. I do predictions. I'm going to have a prediction video where I predict every division. But I'm going to spoil how I feel right now, July 14th, 2026. It's not my official predictions, but right now I feel like it'd be Atlanta. Oh, this is tough. Carolina, Tampa, take your pick on those 2. Either one of them at 2 and 3. And then at the top, New Orleans. I really liked what Carolina did. Fully admitting that. I really liked what they did in the offseason, but they overachieved last year, and I almost wonder if these additions will put them right back to where they were last year as overachievers. And then if the other teams got better, like I think New Orleans did, if they're just right where they were last year, is that going to be enough to beat a better New Orleans team? I have my doubts. Tampa, they lost a lot of people, Mike Evans being the big one. And then, of course, they also get Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator. I talked about this in the video, this division's video for their off seasons. Zach Robinson is a very good fantasy offensive coordinator for fantasy football. He is not a very good critical situation play caller. I watched a lot of Atlanta games because I'm a Kirk Cousins fan, and I just felt like in critical situations, he just never had the right play. So that's a big thing for Tampa and Falcons. Again, I think they're going to be one of the more I don't say more bad teams. I don't want to say they're worst team in the NFL, but I think they're going to be bottom half, bottom quarter for sure. So, with that being said, the only two divisions I think have a real chance of going from worst to first is the NFC South and the NFC North with the Lions and the Saints. And I would actually say right here, right now, how I currently feel, I think both of them happen. Again, maybe by August when I'm making my official predictions, I don't feel that strongly. But right here, right now, I actually think the Lions and the Saints both end up winning their divisions. If you stayed this far in the video, I love you. Thank you. You're insane. Let me know in the comments, who do you think's going to go from worst to first? If anybody, typically happens to. It'd be smart to guess somebody. That being said, again, thank you. If you enjoyed this content, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.